I've tried to film this video several times, not only today, but also the night of getting the unfortunate news that Akira Toriyama, the author and creator of Dragon Ball, has passed away at age 68. Every time I tried filming last night, I just couldn't stop crying. It was a sobbing mess, and almost anything I said was unintelligible at the point where you couldn't even make out what I was trying to say. And I can pray that I can get through this video without having the same thing happen. I want to state right here at the beginning that without this man's creation story, whatever you want to call the legacy that is Dragon Ball, this wouldn't be happening. Inspiration comes in so many different ways and shapes and methods. One of the first real genuine ways that I was inspired to do something with Dragon Ball actually directly is tied to this YouTube channel as well, because when I was 12 years old, I asked my mom if she could make me a Goku costume. We went to like a Spirit Halloween and grabbed like a jail outfit and, you know, cut the sleeves off and got all the other things that we would need, and my mom was able to like iron on like the gi logos on the chest and on the back. And after the costume was made, I sat down and made a DIY video of like how we made that costume. But as I was saying, inspiration comes in so many different ways, shapes, and methods. And I know I am not the only person to be inspired by Akira Toriyama and his works. And I'm not even just talking about Dragon Ball specifically. I'm talking about anything that this man has put his hands on. I don't know if you actually know the range of Akira Toriyama's, like, you know, credentials or what he's worked on, but I genuinely recommend looking up just Akira Toriyama's repertoire or list of series that he has either created or worked on, because while I guarantee that you know or have heard of some, there's definitely going to be one of them that you may not have actually known that he worked a part of. I'll put a list of the more notable ones somewhere on screen, probably like over here, but I'd still genuinely recommend looking them up yourself because it is one of the most inspiring lists of things to see. And further delving into inspiration, Dragon Ball itself is one of the biggest inspirations for like 90% of battle action shonen stories, or even shonen stories in and of itself. To step away from a more battle action shonen, Tatsuya Endo, the creator of Spy Family, literally has stated if it weren't for Dragon Ball and Akira Toriyama, he probably wouldn't have even come close to considering to being a mangaka. And now Tatsuya Endo is responsible for one of the most recognizable cast of characters that the world has seen in the past couple of years. I'm looking at you, Anya. I'm looking at you. But going back to the battle action shonen side of things, anything that has come after Dragon Ball in some way, shape, or form has been inspired, whether it be directly or not directly, from Dragon Ball. The most notable ones being the big three. They all have inspirations or ties back to Akira Toriyama's work. Oda Sensei and Kishimoto Sensei have directly come out and stated several times of how much Dragon Ball means to them and how much they try to implement the best parts of Dragon Ball within their own series. And this doesn't go as far as just being inspired to create a mythical world. It goes as deep as the author of One Piece, Eiichiro Oda, making the background of the chapter title for chapter 519 grayed out, because that is how many chapters Dragon Ball had. And then moving on over to Bleach, Kubo has stated several times that if it wasn't for Akira Toriyama saying, hey, give this guy a chance, Bleach wouldn't have happened. And taking a look at some of the more modern shonen series like My Hero Academia or Black Clover, those authors have specifically referenced Dragon Ball as being one of their biggest inspiration, or we have even seen those authors drawing characters from Dragon Ball. Both the author of My Hero Academia and Black Clover have drawn Goku, and can I just say, they both do it amazingly. And even stepping out of the realm of Weekly Shonen Jump, moving on over to Weekly Shonen Magazine, Hiro Mashima, the author of Fairy Tail, has stated time and time again as well that Dragon Ball is one of his biggest influences. The influence that Dragon Ball has had on media as a whole is unrivaled, even to the point where Cartoon Network, a company that was made in America, tweeted out saying rest in peace to the manga legend Akira Toriyama himself. I kid you not, here's a screenshot of it. As I have been filming this video, I have continuously taken breaks to compose myself and continued scrolling on Twitter to see more more and more and more significant figures and even people who run countries giving their condolences and saying, "We will miss you, Akira Toriyama." If you look on Twitter and just go through any of the trending tabs, Akira Toriyama, thank you Akira Toriyama, any of those, I promise you, you will see a mountain of people just saying that we'll miss you, thank you, and for everything that you have done, we are eternally grateful. I'll never forget in middle school being introduced to Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z by a friend of mine and going home eagerly that day to grab the family computer and try and watch Dragon Ball in any method that I could. And I remember going to YouTube and looking up the first episode of Dragon Ball and eventually finding it, all of it, surprisingly. Not the method in which it's like it's separated into like 5 different parts. It was just all there in one big go. And I'll never forget hearing that opening for the first time. My like whole chest felt like enlightened in a way. I don't really know how to explain it other than just saying magical. God, it was, I wish I could relive that moment over and over again. And then soon after, eventually, you know, getting obsessed with Dragon Ball, I would real quickly go to my Xbox One and purchase Dragon Ball Xenoverse and play the crap out of that game. I had so many hours and eagerly awaited Xenoverse 2. Me and my cousin would battle each other on Xenoverse and just constantly go at it, grabbing new skills, new transformations, new power-ups, anything we could get our hands on to try and one-up each other, or even just to do quests to try and get stuff to one-up each other. Oh my god, I'm never gonna forget those days. I'm never gonna forget going to school and talking about all of the cool stuff that Dragon Ball did. And one of the first memories I've ever had that where I felt I've genuinely belonged somewhere was when me and my cousin who played Dragon Ball Xenoverse with me and my dad went to go see Resurrection of F in theaters. My dad was never a fan of Dragon Ball growing up, but he took us because we were too young to go see it on our own. And just hearing the crowd lose their mind when Goku and Vegeta transform into Super Saiyan Blue, or for when Frieza showed up and he went golden, and just, oh my god. I've never felt so unified with a group of strangers that I've never even met before. Going to a theater for the first time and watching a movie that other people care about as much as you do is one of the best feelings that I can ever describe. And then eventually, as more time passed, getting the announcement, Dragon Ball is coming back as a brand new anime called Dragon Ball Super. When that announcement dropped, the first thing that I had thought of and realized was that I get to live in a timeline where Dragon Ball is being released as an anime and I get to experience the end of it. Because Dragon Ball had ended way before I was born. I was born in 2003. I am still quite very young, but just having that opportunity to actually go through and experience and grow up with the series that got me into basically everything you see behind me and everything that I've talked about on this channel, to experience that series as it's coming out was the biggest honor to me personally. And I will never forget watching that last episode of Dragon Ball Super and bawling my eyes out, because sure, I can look back at Dragon Ball Super now and have my little kind of moments with some certain parts, but I will never ever forget the nights where I would go onto YouTube and see live streams of people sharing and streaming the episodes as they were coming out, like on Crunchyroll, and the chat just losing their mind at just anything that was happening. I remember it specifically for the Goku Black arc. Oh my god, take me back to those days, please. But nothing is ever going to beat seeing the massive crowd of people in Mexico watching those last few episodes of Dragon Ball Super on like that giant projector screen. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please go look up Dragon Ball Super episode 131, whichever one was the last episode of it, reaction in Mexico or something along the lines of that, because that is genuinely one of the most heartwarming and unifying things I have ever seen in my life. I feel like I've said about as much as I've wanted to say, but I want to leave one more thing in this video. If you have any memory or experience or something that you would like to share with the world that is related to Akira Toriyama's works, whether it be Dragon Ball or any of the video games that he's worked on, please share it down below in the comments. Let's keep this man's legacy going forever. And Akira Toriyama, I know you're listening up in heaven. Thank you so much for everything that you have done. You are a legendary man, a legendary author, a legendary artist, a legendary writer, the father of shonen, and will continue to be the greatest inspiration for all of anime and manga.